Hello there and welcome back to my YouTube channel. James here as ever for today's video all about the taxation, that's the F6 ACCA exam paper, how to pass it, and reviewing a free resource available to you on ACCA's website, the Syllabus and Study Guide. Now I know what you're thinking, if you're watching this after March 2022 or you're not doing the UK paper, do not worry. The tips in here apply to all of the variety of different papers involving taxation at ACCA, and I'm going to show you as well, if you're watching this after March 2022, where all the up-to-date resources are, because all the tips as we go through will apply to future tax papers as well. And in doing this video, I've also cut my finger, so hence the plaster for today, but we digress either way. If this is the first time you've visited my channel or clicked on one of my videos, hello there, my name is James, I'm an ACCA qualified member from the UK, and on my channel I help out ACCA students and professionals pass their exams and share my insights and knowledge, and for every video I dedicate them to my lovely subscribers. And today is no different, as you can see in the screen, because Lava has got in touch. Thank you so much for the comment below asking for more taxation videos. Lava, more than happy to help. So today's video is dedicated to you. So if you'd like me to do any videos for you, just leave me a comment at the bottom. I answer them all, and be sure to subscribe, hitting that button below, giving the video as well a massive like so that more ACCA students can see the materials and you get access to all my free uploads as well. But as we touched on before, with the tax paper and after the March 2022, to see all the updates, which we'll come on to later as well, if you go down to the bottom of the document or whichever tax paper you're doing, if you scroll down to the bottom, as you can see on here, all the summary of changes are on there, which we'll come on to at the end of the video, so be sure to stick around to the end. It's all going to help you out. But as I can hear you telling me now, good grief, James, there's heavens above, there's quite a lot of information on here. Please tell me you've been through this and put some notes on there to debunk it all and to make it more digestible. Would I let you down? Welcome to my Syllabus and Study Guide review, and as we said before, no matter which of those 20, I bet you didn't realise there was 20 different options of variants of tax papers, the tips in these will actually help you out as we go through. So it's currently known as the TX paper, formerly known as the F6, so depending if you're having a look at any old materials or anything on those lines, and it usually has a pass rate of around 50%, a very, very tough exam. And it's a big jump, especially if you don't work in taxation. So that'll be one of the first things to get noted down, that you've really got to go through the study guide, understand all of the core concepts on there. And if you want access to all of the up-to-date resources that I recommend, if you click the links in the description of the video, they're all down there. Check them out, the ball's in your court, along with all the links to actually access this free resource as well. I mean, wouldn't let you down, come on. But coming on to the important stuff in the document, and everything underlined in here are the key aspects that you need to be aware of. And the first one on there is being specific, because one of the key areas where students fail this exam is if your answer is generic, it's not going to get a pass. If it's specific, as they're looking at on here, and I'll put it's a massive jump up this paper compared to maybe the ones you've done before, so business technology, management accounting, financial accounting, or law, maybe financial reporting as well. Not to say they're not difficult, but this is a step up, especially if you don't work in tax. Now, you'll come on to later on the detailed study guide of these different levels, and application and evaluation are the key terms they like to use in the tax paper. And if you go down to pages 13 to 23, which I'll show you on the screen now, it just breaks it down for all of the key aspects on there for you. So can you see the little 2s on there for you in terms of VAT? And then if we go up to the top a bit more on here maybe, so we've got one about corporation tax, so lots of 2s on there, but mainly because this is the actual, and a couple of 1s, when you come on to do the advanced tax paper, then you'll see lots of 3s, but it just shows you the level of detail for that particular area of the syllabus, whether you need to demonstrate knowledge and comprehension or application or a bit of evaluation. So some of the actual lower level skills can be assessed within this, so I'd be really looking at going back and having a look at your financial accounting examination, and also if you've done financial reporting, because some of those areas will definitely overlap into this, especially with the layout. And in terms of the actual learning hours and education recognition, you've probably done a few ACCA papers, but it's all about working smarter, not harder. I was going to say work harder, but work smarter, not harder on there, which again is what I promote on the channel. So be sure to go and check out some of the actual study tip videos on there from my experience. As we go through on here, this is the actual structure. So with it being the normal taxation paper, maybe you've actually only done a few down here, but you are here at the applied skills level. Now, there is actually the ethics and professional skills module, and I would recommend if you've got time before doing your examinations, maybe you've got a few months or so, I'd recommend you actually complete this, because there are ethics tested in the taxation paper, and if you can actually demonstrate that within your professional skills module, it's only going to help you out. If I had a few months before my taxation exam, I would be doing that professional skills module, but just to let you know for the actual video. And if you want a bit more guidance about how to go onto it, again, as ever, there is a video on the channel explaining everything on there. We also have a pass mark of 50%, and we know it's a 50% pass mark and a 50% pass rate. So for every 100 students that sit the exam, only 50 will actually pass it. So trust me, it's getting those 50 marks out of 100. You're going to have to work for it. Now, coming on to the actual applied skills exams, as you can see on here, you'll be actually tested on a mix of objective and longer questions, which we'll come on to later, and you'll be actually allocated 10 minutes at the start to actually go through, especially if you've got the computer-based examination, to go through all the instructions, and then 3 hours to complete your exam. In the actual exam, this is another key thing that you need to be competent about before you actually sit it, is understanding how the spreadsheets and the word processing goes, because the spreadsheets for all your calculations and computations, so maybe it might be an income tax computation, or for your word processing, explaining and evaluating, just like we looked at above with those 1s, 2s and 3s. But ACCA continually give you insights and things they want to tell you why students fail this exam before. And assessing methods of ACCA will follow actual technical and application skills rather than, for example, simple calculations. So you've got to apply your knowledge to that actual business scenario. If you do that, you've got a really good chance of actually passing this exam. There are 180 minutes within the exam for the 100 marks. We'll come on to it later, but that is a basis of 1.8 minutes per mark. And the reason why I put that in there is, and it's in all of them on here, and they also mention it in the external examiner's report, that students fail to actually read the question properly, then actually to plan their answer, and they write things down that actually don't equate to any marks. So that's why they encourage it on here. It's so key to pass the exam. Maybe actually go through you need to build a technique of actually doing all your workings and computations up at the top and then following it below, because you have to calculate and explain in this exam relating back to that scenario. And time management is always a key element, where so many students only answer 80 marks in the test. We'll come on to the time allocation later on. But again, if you want to pause the video and take some screenshots or just jot down any notes, feel free to as we go through. The actual guide now, as we go through the examination assessment, really stems up, first of all, you can't question spot. That ACCA can test you on absolutely any element of the taxation paper. So make sure you cover all the grounds in the syllabus and study guide further on as we go through. Now, we actually have some important updates. We'll go on this one up at the top for the UK tax exams. And this is where it's all about which rates and allowances, as we touched on at the start, where the new updates come into effect. And this is where June is the first sitting, okay? So if the exam falls between the period of the 1st of June 2021 to the 31st of March 2022, this will examine the Finance Act of 2020. So in other words, before the rates update and change, June is the first exam, and then March the following year is the last exam. There are also additional guidance written by the examination team and the ACCA on the ACCA website. I've done a video for you explaining all of it, how to interpret it all, so be sure to get that jotted down as a call to action after this video to go away and check out. No sort of updates in terms of the UK leaving the EU, so you'll be there going super duper. That makes my life less complicated. And finally on here, the study guide should therefore be read in conjunction with the examinable documents. Really worth checking those out, because what they actually do on there is show you an answer that equated to a pass, and then also show you an answer that equated to a fail. So it really helps you to home in on what standard of writing an answer I need to be producing. So it's all noted on the channel for you on there as well. All good. Now, the relation of taxation and where it links into other areas. So taxation is obviously going to follow on into advanced taxation. But for me personally, I would say, if you're really struggling a bit and you've maybe not done an exam in a while, have a look back at financial accounting or financial reporting, your notes on those if you've done them before, because a few of those aspects will be pulled forward. Now, the actual approach to the examining syllabus. And as you can see on here, there's quite a few notes, but let's go through it. The 3-area exam, we've already touched on that before. Computational discursive, so in other words, calculate for me and then tell me what it means, assess, relating back to that scenario. So words and numbers. If you don't do both of those, you are in trouble for this exam because all questions are compulsory. The scenario and case study approach, these are the harder questions on the exam. Good trick on here is get into the habit of writing down the company or individual's name, and that will really help you to guide your answer on there. You'll need to be comfortable with applying all the tax rates allowances. You haven't got time in the exam to just be going, right, back to it here, back there. Once you do more past paper questions, and the more you do, the better off you're going to be, you will save time on top of it. Here's that 1.8 minutes per mark that I alluded to earlier. So there's 30 marks in section A, then we've got 30 marks in section B, and then 40 marks in section C. So it's nicely broken down there for you. You've got just under an hour for section A and section B, and then over an hour and 10 for section C. So it's just a guide so you know when to move on as well. If you'd like me to do a video about how to pass this examination, feel free to let me know in the comments as well. Happy to help on there, and we can get that uploaded onto the channel. Also, this is key, really key for you to get noted down here. So the 250 mark questions we'll focus on, so this is in section C, this is the external examiner telling you what is going to be tested. And we'll come on to those syllabus areas B and E later on. So you've got income tax, corporation tax on there. So you've got to be doing as many past paper questions on that element and doing them to time. But yes, as well on here, all of the questions can cover any area of the syllabus. So I've warned you once, and I've warned you again, and the ACCA external markers warn you as well. But the actual time management on here means that you attempt all of the 100 marks. So in the actual external examiner's report, so many students fail to finish this exam, and imagine trying to get a 50 marks to pass it, but you've only attempted 80, for example. Well, you're going to be at a disadvantage. Right, coming on to the actual syllabus now. So the A to G's on the side relate to, well, the actual main capabilities. So A to G, what we'll come on to, but it's just as a guide. I'll put it still on here if you want to take a screenshot or start to jot it down. Everything on here, if you want to note it down, are the key terms that you'd expect to see in your examination. So you've got to get familiar with these, and I'll leave it on there for you to read in your own time. But the main thing that you've got to ask yourself in the exam, as you can see the notes on the side, is you have to ask yourself, based on the scenario, have we got an individual or have we got a company? Are we dealing with a chargeable gain, or are we looking at a corporation tax liability? What kind of organisation have we got? Is it an individual, a single company, a group? What are we actually dealing with here? And once you actually start asking yourself these questions in the exam, relating to all of these key areas underlined on here, that is where you will start to understand and try to picture it relating to a real life scenario, or maybe someone you know, something on those lines. It will really help for you to actually unpick what's going on and then what action you're going to take along with those calculations and workings. Again, I'll leave you to actually read through this on the screen. Pause it now, feel free to, but it's got all the key areas which we're going to be coming on to in the syllabus below. But finally, not to understate it, make sure you're using the actual computer-based examination practice platform on ACCA's website. Technique on that is so key. I'd be wanting to actually apply all of these sort of pro formas and calculations for income tax, inheritance tax, chargeable gains. How would I actually lay that out on the Excel platform on there, and then utilising the Word document to actually tell them what it's about. And as you can see on here, chargeable gain, inheritance tax, corporation tax. So if you want to read the bit on corporation tax on there for F, it's linked into, that is where they talked about it up here. But all checked off on there. And if you're one of those people who, well, not one of those people, if you're lovely ACCA student who doesn't work in tax, should I say? Not one of those people. But if you can't picture where these all sort of flow into or sort of overlap, for example, this is a really handy diagram that links it all together, and it really will help you to separate them all out. And again, for those questions, you've got to ask yourself, what are we dealing with here? Corporation tax, UK tax system, standards, whatever it may be. Really helpful for you to check out. Now, I didn't note it up at the top, but I really wish I had have done. But if you've got a printer, I would highly recommend you print out the syllabus and also detailed syllabus on there. But as you can see on here, A, B, D, and G is going to be at the bottom. What I would recommend is get some pieces of paper down, because you can have loads of notes when you're going through this, and then anything you didn't understand on inheritance tax, pop it on that piece of paper. Same with income tax, same with corporation tax, but it breaks down on here all of the key areas that you could be tested on. So a really helpful, handy sheet all in one place. And what it does there is that you've got the UK tax system, and then you've got the overall function and purpose. Well, if you come down to the detailed study guide, it tells you, there we go, UK tax system, the overall function and purpose, and then, in other words, everything that you could get tested on in that area, with the little ones and the little twos on there, showing you, there might be the odd three, showing you the level of detail that you need to be aware of for that element. And just be careful as you go through. So this is for section A, and then I put a little red line on there to separate it out, because it goes whoop, down there. And then this part here for B, so you got 2A, 2B, and then it starts up there again for C. So that's just so you're aware of what falls under what element. So again, you don't get confused. But as you would be expecting, in a detailed study guide, it's all on there. So many students will not even use this. I'd highly recommend you go through it, check them off one by one, and it tells you what topics are also excluded. So imagine going through and doing too much on it. There's already enough to do on this. So that takes you through the detailed study guide, broken down into those key areas. And then that takes us on to the summary of changes. So be sure to check out all of the up-to-date areas. The links in this description of the video will all be up to date for you. So it just takes you through all the key areas, so income, self-employment on there, investments, chargeable gains, and just really breaks it down for what has changed according to your examination. But as a final thing on here now, coming off the actual changes, the final tips how to tackle, approach and pass the actual tax paper. Well, utilise those timings up above, because time management is always an area of trouble. The external examiner highlights. Be sure to you've got to get into the habit of saying, moving on within a question and doing as many past paper questions and exam practice questions to time as possible. So it shows you what standard you're at. This is where you'll help to develop those pro formas to actually help structure your calculations, showing all your workings. You'll get own figure marks. So what that means is if you make a mistake at the top but carry on the right actual process, you will get the marks for that. The practice platform for the computer-based examination, how you lay out your answers, put the computations up there first, and then go on to the wording at the bottom with all the formulas. The more practice you do, the better off you're going to be. If you don't use the practice platform before your exam, you're going to be at a real disadvantage, and probably, unless you're really competent, it will waste time in the exam, in my opinion. We touched on earlier, it just sounds so simple, answer all the requirements, but you've got to pick out the key terms, what's it actually getting at, and then which area of tax it's referring to, and be specific in your answers. So as we touched on, relating back to the company name, if it's used particular words in the requirement, maybe it could be to do with how can we actually benefit the client as best within the organisation from a cash flow perspective or tax saving, something on those lines. Focus in on that. Show all your workings for the method and own figured marks. We talked about those earlier, along with actually breaking down the syllabus to collate your study notes to condense it. So that's where just have sheets of paper, one for income tax, one for corporation tax, one for VAT, and then as you're going through past paper questions, if you don't understand something of it, pop it down on that sheet, so the night before the exam it's all collated, all in together. And they actually touched on it before as well. Expect to see stuff in your exam that you maybe not even seen before, because the tax syllabus is so wide. There will be little nuggets of information So I'd actually be going into it saying, look, there's bound to be some elements on here I don't know, but there are going to be lots of things on here that I do know, and they're the marks that I really want to pick up on, so that I'm going to pass my exam, go through it, and be in that 50% that pass this exam on there. Well, that is the actual free syllabus and study guide analysis gone through. I hope you've liked today's video, and if you have, be sure to give it a massive like below. If you'd like access to all my free resources, as ever, just subscribe and hit the button so you don't miss out on any future videos from my experience. And if you've got any other questions or queries, or let me know what you thought of the video, be sure to leave me a comment below. I answer them all, and if you've got any other requests for videos, I'm more than happy to help. You just got to let me know. That's the key thing on there. The main thing I can say is, though, best of luck for your examination. As a final treat to help you out, I'll put a couple of videos on the screen now, so be sure to click one of them. It could be the difference in getting those extra few marks from those study tips, little insights from my experience to get you over the line to passing your tax paper. Well, best of luck your exam, get those final marks, and on that bombshell, I'll see you next time. Cheers!